we had to teach on patience. Remember when the crossroads thing? Do you remember that? We had to teach on the fruit of the Spirit, and I would never teach on patience because it's not, I hate it. I don't like talking about patience. Because it's probably the biggest problem that I have, right? It's the biggest struggle that I have with all the time. I struggle with teaching on patience. And I am a product of our culture, I think, because I think a lot of us in our culture and society struggle with patience. I had a picture that I wanted to share that I found interesting. In the past 100 years, which is in the grand scheme of things, in the thousands of years that this planet has been around, we've had a tremendous, what would you say, change in our lifestyle and how we live because of the things that we've learned, the technology that we have. I mean, before you used to cook beans or whatever under a fire, and some of the guys like to go out and they still do that. I always think of with Aaron, like he always has this little thing that he likes to cook in. But now you can just pull up to a window and say, I want this now. Transportation, you were lucky if you had a horse, otherwise you were hoofing it, you were walking. Unless you have a bike, most people have a car and get anywhere they want, hundreds of miles away in just a few hours. Crossing the Atlantic, weeks, months, to now you can go in just a couple hours on a supersonic jet, right? Then my favorite, do you guys know what that is over there on the bottom left? What is it, Justice? What kind of a phone? It's an old people phone, yeah. It was when you would go to a booth and you had to call home because you were going to be late, and it's past 11 o'clock on a school night. You would put a quarter in and you'd call, and you would say, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be late tonight, right? What's that?
That's where they came up with the saying, drop a dime. Yeah. You put a dime in the phone and call it.
There you go, drop a dime, right? So now you have a supercomputer literally in your hands.
Do you remember calling on your phone to call information?
411.
Somebody's phone number, you get somebody's phone number?
Yeah. Well, you would dial 0 back then. Yeah. I remember saying like, hey, what's the 411 on today? And people were like, you're like, I don't know what even that means. What's the 411,
Yeah.
But the information, you need information for something, you dial 411. Doesn't work anymore, right? But you can just Google it instead. You don't need to get 411. You just hit, or Yahoo or whatever you get on. It's all right there. And so we're living in a world that is so different than 100 years ago, even 50 years ago, even 20 years ago. It is so different in the world that we live in, and it has grown to become this click and receive, or I want something and I get it now. We have this day where everything seems to be right at our fingertips. And not only that, we typically, I don't know if some of you are like me, but I spend the day rushing around, multitasking, trying to get as much as I can get done in a day before I go home. Is anybody else like that? Like I just have so many things I got to do. I'm doing this, and I'm going to try to do them at the same time. Or if I'm driving the car, I'm going to talk on the phone while I'm, figuring out what the schedule is, and I'm driving, right? I mean, if some of our people are, I hope you're not texting. I don't do that while I'm driving, right? Don't do that. But I've also was reading a study that our brains have become almost addicted to the internet. And it has become this endorphin rush because if I want something, I get it, right? And we live in this world where we want what we want and we want it now, right? When you think of companies, what companies come instantly to mind? If you want something, you can get it instantly. Amazon. If you live in Phoenix, where my mother-in-law lives, she can get it within a couple hours, right? Before COVID, you're like, it's got to take more than 24 hours to get here? What? What's wrong with this place? And how many people got so frustrated and mad because it took 2-3 days to get your Amazon order? How frustrating is that? Or maybe you don't have time to leave work, so what do? You call Roadrunner, You you pay out the nose to have somebody deliver your drink because, you'll want it now. I don't want to wait till I get off work. I want it now. I want my coffee house now. Yeah, there you go. Shipped, right? I need to go to the grocery store on Sunday, but I don't have time to do that. I want it now. I call Deborah. I need my shipped order. Can you go get my groceries? Right? That's the world that we live in. Before, you had to wait till the month and then load everybody up in the carriage and take them to the general store. Luke chapter 8. Luke chapter 8, verse 40. Mr. Jacob, I want you to read verses 40 through 56, please. Luke 8, 40 through 56. Chapter 8, verses 40 through 56, yes. Really loud for everybody.
So it was, when Jesus returned, that the multitude welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. And behold, there came a man named
Jairus.
Jairus. Yeah, that. He was a ruler in the synagogue. He fell down at Jesus' feet and begged him to come to his house, for he had an only daughter, about 12 years of age, and she was dying. But as he went, the multitudes thronged him. Now a woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any, came from behind and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Jesus said, "Who touched me?" When all denied it, Peter and those with him said, "Master, the multitudes throng and press you, and you say, 'Who touched me?'" Jesus said, "Somebody touched me, for I perceive the power going out from me." Now when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared to him in the presence of all the people the reason she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said to her, "Daughter, be of good cheer, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." While he was still speaking, someone came from the ruler of the synagogue's house, saying to him, "Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher." What was that reading?
That's good right there. So here's the scene. Yeshua is on the other side of the Lake Galilee, right? And this is where he encounters the man with the evil spirit and the legion and all of that, right? He's now coming back from the Decapolis, and now he's coming back to the Jewish area. And Jairus comes to him and says, "Master, I need you, right? We need to go really quick to my house. My daughter needs you. She's very sick." They're on their way. What happens? They get stopped. They get stopped by something, right? Something happens. And in another passage in Mark, it's like Yeshua says, "I felt power come out of me," right? Something happens and I have to stop. And very much like Peter, I can feel this happening like myself. Like, what does Peter do? When Jesus says, Yeshua says, "Wait, we got to stop. Something happened. Somebody touched me." And your Bible said the throngs of people, right? What is that? It's like a crowd, all these people are around you. What do you mean somebody touched you? Of course you got touched. Everybody's touching you. What do you mean? And what is Peter doing? He's like, "What are you talking about? Wait, Jairus, we got an appointment we got to go to. We got to go there. Yeah, of course somebody touched you, right?" And what does Yeshua do? He's like, "No, we got to stop here." And he finds out the reason. He finds out that this woman had trusted enough to believe that he was the Messiah, that she thought, if I can just touch, and it was the seat off his coat, if I can just touch the seat, I can be healed of this issue that I've been bleeding for 12 years. If I can just touch him. And she admits this, and she is healed. And as they start to then go, what happens? What was the last thing you said? Somebody comes from the house and says what? And it's too late. Missed your appointment. You missed out. If you would have been there, something might have happened, but you didn't. You were late. You didn't show up. This is a hard passage for me because I'm the guy that says, like Peter, no, we got to go. I'll come back and I'll deal with this later. It makes me think, how many of us are willing to stop when something gets in our way? Are we too busy? Are we too busy to notice, I don't have time for this? Are we willing to stop and react to that situation? There was a quote that I wanted to read, and I'll have it on the board. It was from a rabbi that was talking about this issue. He said, "Woe to the pampered one who has never been trained to be patient. Either today or in the future, he is destined to sip from the cup of affliction." I mean, that's a tough one for me. Woe to the pampered one. As I was reading that quote, I was thinking of your CDC from last week. And 4.4 million kids struggle with anxiety. And I wonder if that is somehow connected also to the fact that we have not taught them to deal with patience. I mean, there's many things that create anxiety. I wonder how much of that is because I can't get what I want now. I don't understand what I need to understand right now, that it causes me anxiety. In my mind, as I was singing, I was thinking, one of you two has to come up, and I have a thing for you. So I'll let you guys choose. Yeah, one of you two, because I've had both of you come up before. So I was like, oh, all right, all right, Nate. He pointed at you. Come on, you're up. You were too slow, man. You were patient, right? That was the problem. Roman was like, nope, he's it. All right, so I need you to do something. I need you to hold this, just like this.
Yeah, okay.
Oh. Just like that. Just like that. Right? I'll tell you when to stop because I'm going to talk about patience for a bit, and you're going to hold that because you're my demonstration. Right? So as I was thinking about patience, it's not that heavy. It's only like 4 pounds, right? 5 pounds maybe. When I was looking at patience, the Hebrew word for patience is actually savlunat. Savlunat is the word for patience. It means patience. It also means tolerance, but it comes from a root word. The root word actually means to suffer. One who endures. Are you suffering yet? Not yet. Okay, you're still good. All right. Patience can then be translated not just as patience or tolerance, it also means enduring and tolerating, or sometimes to suffer. To be patient means to suffer sometimes. And patience is not about necessarily waiting as much as it is about bearing the weight. It's not waiting. It's a matter of, I have this weight that I am holding up, and it is going to burn in a few seconds, right? Can you still hold it on? Can you hold it up? All right, keep trying, and then because you're going to bear the weight. You're going to bear the weight until you can't bear it anymore. You can do it 2 more seconds until we get to Genesis 25.
Don't ask me.
Genesis 25. I want you to read, Rustin. Genesis 25. When he gets to Genesis 25, I'll let you unbear the weight. 25, verse 29. Man, he's going slow to Genesis. Genesis 1, Genesis 2. All right, you're good. You already lost it. Woo! Put it up here, if you can. Is it burning yet? Yeah. Genesis 13, Genesis 4. You're still going there? All right, you're there. All right. Genesis 25, verse 29 and 30, please.
This is God's word translation.
Fine. Good enough. Perfect.
Once Jacob was preparing a meal when Esau, exhausted, came in from outdoors. How can we read? You didn't say.
Verses 29 and 30.
Oh, and okay. So Esau said to Jacob, "Let me have the whole pot of red stuff to eat. That red stuff, I'm exhausted." This is why he was called Edom.
So this is we could have read the whole thing in context. No, but that's perfect. That was great. Because the whole thing in context, we've talked about it so many times, right? Here's Jacob. He comes in from the outdoors, from doing something. He's just exhausted. He's tired. And he comes to Jacob, who's cooking this food, this stew. And what does Esau want? He's hungry. He wants it now. And he wants what you have right now. I want it right now. So much so that in the very next verse, what is he willing to give up for that red pot? His birthright, right? His birthright, the firstborn status, which is in the Hebrew culture is what? Why is it huge? You get a double portion, and everything is pretty much yours, right? You inherit everything. And for him to say, I don't care about that. I'd rather have your stew over my inheritance, right? That's a big deal. But the point is what? Here he comes in from the outdoors. He's hungry. He wants it right now. He needs it right now is what he's saying. He makes this quick decision based on what? How he's feeling. I feel like I'm hungry and I want it right now. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm weary. Give me the soup. I don't care what it costs me. As I reflected on this, I wondered how do you react when you are tangry or hangry? How do you react? And this is a cultural thing too, right? Because what does the Snickers commercial say? What? Why wait? Why wait? If you're like the person that's acting weird and they put a costume on him, he has this different outfit, and then they give him the Snickers bar and he's himself again, right? We have this mentality like, why wait? You're hangry. Just feed your need right now. But in reality, the body can actually go, 3 days without food? 30 days without water? But is it the other way? Yeah, it is right. 3 days without water. Yeah, you can't, sorry. You can go 3 days without water. You can go 30 days without food. 30. Could you imagine waiting 2 days to eat? No, we can get a Snickers bar. Why wait? Right? We live in this world, this society, this culture says, why wait? I need it now. I don't want it now. I need it now. Because if I don't get it now, I'll be what? Not only starving, but what happens when I'm starving or when I'm hangry? Like I become angry. I become a jerk, right? My attitude changes. My emotions change. And then I release my emotions on you because of how I'm feeling, because I'm hungry. If we were to be really honest about what usually gets us in trouble, it's usually how we react to things, isn't it? Impatience, especially this one, impatience snuffs out consciousness. Consciousness is what? That logical part of the brain that tells you this is a bad choice. If you do this, you will have consequences to this. But we've learned in our society that if I'm hangry, I block out that part of the brain because it doesn't matter. Because my feelings say, this is what I need. Don't logically think about this. It gets overridden by our impatience. And as I've studied a different aspect, I'm going to turn to another thing. Patience is connected to what's called emotional intelligence. It's something that I've been teaching elsewhere for a while now. And emotional intelligence, one of the very first aspects that you talk about is the very top left corner is this idea of self-awareness. It's the understanding that emotions can take on physical attributes. When I'm anxious, we're all different. But when I'm anxious, my chest starts to tighten. When I am nervous about something, my stomach starts to get a knot. When I'm angry, unfortunately, my wife knows this really well, my lips tighten up and they clench. And she'll say, you're angry. Why? I'm like, I'm not angry. I can see your lips, right? It's my tell. I can't even hide that from her. But self-awareness is the ability to recognize I'm feeling this, and I'm feeling it in my stomach. That's probably telling me that I am nervous right now. Self-management then moves on to, what do I do with these emotions? But to stay with self-awareness, here's where the emotional wheel, we've shown the emotional wheel many times. I think I have a picture of it, right? The emotional wheeling, right? What are the things that are on the outside? Like I'm shocked, I'm dismayed. Maybe it's because I'm startled. Maybe that comes from a deeper sense of surprise. Or maybe I'm feeling inadequate right now. I really feel inadequate, so it's causing insecurity. Where's my insecurity coming from? It's coming from fear. Emotional intelligence helps you to break down what are the things that I'm feeling right now and where is that coming from? You see, when you can identify that space between the awareness of what it is that I'm feeling and that very next choice that I make, there's a good illustration I learned as I was preparing for this. They talked about a match. Self-awareness is that point that it recognizes something's happening right now and it's causing me an emotion. And it's that time before looking at the match and striking the match, which is my reaction. Because what happens when I light the match? What? Yeah, but what if I'm the match? If I'm the match, right? I have this choice. Wait, don't light it yet. Because for me, once I light it, it's over. I'm on fire. I'm furious. I'm mad. I'm saying things that I probably should not say. I'm doing things that are probably not the right things to be doing because I am on fire. So before I get to that point, I have an opportunity to pull the match out and wait. Before I strike this, what am I feeling right now? Because if I just pull it out and don't think before I light this, it's too late. Because once I get to this point, and everybody's different. For me, it takes a long time for this match to go out. For some people, it's easy. Self-control is that time, that space between the awareness of what's going on and the choice that I'm about to make. So when we open the space between the match and the fuse, that makes all the difference sometimes. Just recognizing that there is a space between those two things. If I can identify that just for a split second, it may help me from causing all kinds of problems. Too often we are unaware of how our own behavior, I should take that back. Too often we are unaware of our own behavior, and our behavior is usually caused by the emotions that we're feeling. And sometimes we want to deny, I'm not feeling that way. Well, why are you acting this way? I'm not acting this way, but you are. This is typically these emotions that we have, these emotions that we're unwilling to recognize, these emotions that we're unwilling to say, this is my problem. When I am unwilling to address this, it actually holds me back from spiritual growth. It actually holds me back from connection. Have you ever had an opportunity where you were so mad about something, you were so frustrated, and then you had to pray? You had that? How easy is that? Or let me ask you this. Teachers, right? There's teachers in here. You have to teach something, right? You're frustrated, you're mad, and then you got to get them to teach. That's difficult. This is one of those things that sets us apart from the animal world. This thing right here. Animals are created with what? Instinct. Right? When an animal feels something, what does it do? It reacts. Right? When it's hungry, it eats. When it's feeling afraid or attacked, it bites. When it has to go to the bathroom, goes to the bathroom, right? This is the animal world, right? When it's tired, dogs will sleep for hours. But we have a part of the brain that allows us to make conscious decisions, choices between right and wrong, but also how I'm feeling and how I'm about to react. To reject those emotions that are sometimes necessary to say, wait a second, don't react to that. I know you're feeling that way, but maybe we should think about where that is coming from first. Maybe we should make a choice not based on how I'm feeling, but maybe based on my values or the goals or the things that I believe is right. And to not just react, to not just act like an animal or this instinct that we also have. Being patient doesn't mean being passive either. Doesn't mean, well, I'm just not going to do anything then. That's not what being patient means. It just means that I don't need to react negatively to every delay or every problem that I find myself in. Do you guys remember the story of Gamzu Latova? Have I told that story here? Rabbi Akiva had a mentor. His mentor and teacher was Gamzu. And Gamzu used to use this phrase, and it was used after him for many centuries, and still to this day. There's songs about it called Gamzu Latova. This too is for the good. And Rabbi Akiva didn't quite understand it until one day he was traveling from a city near Jerusalem to this small village into the Samaria. And he had with him a donkey and a rooster. The donkey was carrying his stuff. The rooster was to be able to wake him up in the morning, and a candle. And he went to this small little village, and the village was very similar. There's no room at the inn, right? There's a festival, there's something going on. We don't have any space for you to stay with us. So Rabbi Akiva was like, fine, I'll just wait. I'll sleep out in the woods. Very common. I'm going to go out to the woods. I'm going to stay out there. And while he was in the middle of the night, he lit his candle, he said his prayers, and he had this little camp, and he went to bed. In the middle of the night, there was this wind that came up and blew out his candle. So it was dark now. You couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. And sometime after that, because it was pitch black, a fox came and ate his chicken, or his rooster, I'm sorry. So he slept in. And in the middle of the night, after the fox came and ate his rooster, another larger animal came and grabbed his mule and ate his mule. So he woke up in the next day. It's later than he expected. His rooster's gone, his mule's gone, and he's outside the town. He's thinking, now what do I do? Right? How would you react? All of these things go wrong. You've been on a job site where everything goes wrong, right? What do you say when everything goes wrong? So what does he do? He goes into the city to find out, okay, I need to get new supplies. I'm heading to this place anyways. I'm going to go into the city. What does he find in the city? The city's been sacked and everybody's been killed because raiders came in the middle of the night and took everything. And what did Rabbi Akiva say when he woke up and the donkey was gone and the rooster was gone? He said, my rabbi would teach me what? Gamzu latova. Everything is for the good. Sure, Lord. Everything is for the good. But what would have happened if those things didn't happen? What would have happened if he would have stayed in the inn? Or what would have happened if the wind didn't blow out his candle? The raiders would have seen that there was a candle that it would have came to his job site or his sleeping site, right? So because these things that seemed to him in the moment were bad, which sometimes things seem so bad to us in the moment, maybe they're not so bad. Maybe we have to be reminded, Gamzu latova. Maybe this too is for the good. Maybe this is happening right now for a reason. Like when Peter didn't understand, Lord, we got to go. And Yeshua made clear, no, wait, we're not going anywhere yet. Something's happening here for a reason. Gamzu latova. The one thing that I've learned about patience is that the common denominator always seems to be the person in the mirror. It's usually always about me. I'm late. I'm hungry. I'm anxious. Me. and I. When I read through this material and I look at patience, I'm reminded that I am not the creator of the universe. I'm not the one in control of everything around me. I'm not in control of how people react or how people do things or how people maybe run a red light or do something. I have no control over somebody else. The only thing that I have control over is what? My choices. Sometimes these things happen to us. And maybe sometimes they happen to us for a reason. Maybe these things sometimes happen so that we can recognize maybe this too is for the good, instead of thinking everything's bad. James chapter 5. Emily, James chapter 5, verse 7 through 10, please.
Be patient, therefore, brothers, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it, until it receives the early and the late rains.
Through 10.
You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Do not grumble against one another, brothers, so that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. As an example of suffering and patience, brothers, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord.
Two things. The prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. Why would James say that? Think of them. How many things that they prophesied got them in some serious hot water? How many times did they prophesy something from God, like, Elijah? I'm sorry, Isaiah. Who was it? Elijah? Isaiah, one of the two, I can't remember now, who said, whatever you say, Jeremiah, whatever you say, Lord, is like a burning fire within me. I can't keep it in, right? And I don't think he meant that as a good thing. Because if you know the story of Jeremiah, like, nobody liked Jeremiah. He was somebody who everybody hated whatever he said because it was always against the king. It was always against the kingdom. It was always about all these things that are going to go wrong. Don't do these. I don't want to have a conversation with Jeremiah. In fact, eventually he got thrown in jail. He got stuck in a mud pit in jail, right? He was later on killed. He was sawed in two. I mean, this was like a prophet. And you're supposed to say, remember the prophets. This is great, isn't it? Be patient like the prophets. And then the first part of that was what? Right after that, we're talking about farmers. Man, has anybody ever tried to grow a garden before? Anybody? Yeah? I'm horrible. Andrew's like, no, you can't grow a garden in this house. You just can't. I can't seem to grow anything. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that maybe I'm not patient. Because being a gardener, you have to tend it. You have to be slow. You can't like try to make it grow too fast or too slow. Like there's a lot of work that comes into tending a garden, and it is long and tedious and slow. And you talk to it? Oh, I guess you can talk to it too. There you go. Maybe that's why he connects it with the prophet, right? You talk to the garden, you talk to God. It's all the same, right? But maybe that would help us if we all tried to maybe start plant a garden to like recognize like it. Maybe this could actually help us in some of these parables. Maybe it could actually help us in understanding these words a little bit more. Instead of saying, let's be patient. All right, who wants to go to McDonald's tonight? Right? Or get fast food. Because remember, it's about bearing the weight. It's not about waiting. Because a farmer has to like what? Make sure that his crops grow well. He has to cut the roots out of all of the weeds and take care of it so the birds don't eat it and all of these things. It's a burden to grow a garden. And it takes time. And maybe we should all learn what it means to bear a burden as we talk about waiting and being patient. bear the stress. And maybe sometimes we have to bear that stress so that we can see, what is God doing with this? Maybe I'm holding this for a reason, and I don't even know yet. Maybe as the person came and said, don't bother the master, it's too late. And Yeshua said, what? No, we're going. There's still work to be done. Maybe we need that reminder that, yeah, maybe everything's gone wrong. Maybe the things that I was supposed to plan or all these things got to happen, but maybe that happened for a reason, because maybe God still has something else planned for me next. Maybe I needed to bear that for a reason that I don't even know yet. Maybe we need to suffer a little bit. Father, we just thank you for an opportunity to gather, to sing, to open our hearts, to open our minds, as to what it means to be patient, to what it means to bear a load, to bear a weight that can cause us stress and anxiety. But let us not be afraid of that. Let us not fear that or avoid that. May we, in this time of stress and anxiety, may we remember Gamzu Latova, that this too is for the good. Amen.